I'm here with Perttu. He told me it needed anger, so I'm delivering it that way.
It's the creature of lake who actually grabs the unaware personnel from a shore.
Yeah. So you wouldn't want to find out, because if you find out, then it's too late.
I think, yes. I actually secretly really love zombie movies, for example, because they make me laugh. I love to read, for example, Stephen King.
This is my first interview and we're kicking off Wacken in style this year because I'm here with Perttu. He told me it needed anger, so I'm delivering it that way. From Apocalyptica, and hopefully I've said that right as well. That didn't need anger. Okay, that didn't need anger as well. So you're going to play Wacken, the main stage,
how cool
later on.
Yeah, it's amazing. I can't remember how many times we were here, 5, 6, even 7. It's of course the greatest festival in the world. So
I love Wacken. Yeah, I was here last year.
The weather is also always the finest of them all.
The weather today.
I was just laughing that all the memories we have from Wacken is that there is always kind of a lot of mud and rain.
Yeah, a lot of rain. That kind of makes the festival.
Holy ground is somehow cursed.
Yeah, probably, yes. And I have to say that the sound that your band make is my sort of music to my ears. Like, I love that kind of marrying the orchestral symphonies and with heavy metal. And how did that, to me, that feels obvious, because I don't put people in boxes. You don't have to be a metalhead and just listen to metal, but what inspires that sound for you?
For us, everything has been, since the start, like a huge exploration of the possibilities of the instrument, the weird instrument we are using, the cellos. And naturally, with all the albums, with all the hundreds and thousands of shows we played, we all the time learned more and more about actually the widening the perspective, the spectrum, and the boundaries of cello playing. And therefore I feel that with every single step we took, we were able to find new ways of using this beautiful instrument for our purposes. And of course the musical taste changes. So when we started, I would say that it was a very kind of, even a novelty, kind of fun kind of a project for us to play nearly like acoustically heavy metal and Metallica songs, especially with the classical instruments. But after that we started to go deeper into all sound creation and orchestral elements and stuff, and now it is a mixture of whatever it is, and I hope that our main purpose is to entertain people wherever we go.
Yeah, and you don't just play, you write, you compose, you're artists in every sense of the word, and for me that kind of cello is quite synonymous for storytelling. Do you find that's quite a useful tool in conveying that emotion?
Absolutely. Actually, as our music is mainly instrumental, I always approached that music through some kind of an inner pictures. You suddenly may see a view in your head, like for whatever battleground after, everything is demolished or something, and all of a sudden you may get the theme, how that should sound, that view. So often there are actually these kind of stories or approaches behind even instrumental songs for us, and therefore, I think that also the instrumental music, it is for a listener, likewise, a very cinematic thing, that there is no obvious story that somebody is telling, but you can let your imagination fly free.
It's really interesting you say that, because I write my own music and I write my own songs, and I see music as fairly genreless, and I'd use cellos and orchestration quite heavily to convey an emotion. And I think that's kind of a nice thing that is also very similar to what you guys do with your band, I guess.
Yeah, I think that it's very fascinating how many different ways you can approach writing music. And for us, I think one of the coolest parts in being a musician in Apocalyptica is that the range, which type of music from different genres even we can take to our treatment is very wide. So we can really go from acoustic, classical, chamber music kind of vibe songs to brutal thrash metal and everything in between. So it really is like a beautiful playground where I enjoy the liberty of trying to seek all your darkest corners in their soul and trying to put that into music. It's a fantastic job in that sense, yes.
And obviously you're from Finland, and I have heard a lot of, I've never been to Finland myself, which I find surprising because I've been everywhere, but Finland is one of the places that I'm yet to visit. But I'm told, and do correct me if I'm wrong, that there is a lot of kind of mystical folklore and stories from that land. Are they true, or is that something you believe in or you invest in, or is it something that's not of interest to you at all?
No, naturally we have a strong folklore. Finnish kind of like a civilization is relatively young. We were barbarians whenever, you know, the southern and mid Europe was already thriving. So the Finnish culture of ourselves is really not going that far when it comes to the cities and organized everything and education. But surely we have a lot of, I don't know if you ever heard about Kalevala, which is like our Beowulf or this kind of a national epoch. And that is full of myths and stuff like that. So people had, like we had originally gods for even rocks, or like we believed in thunder god and all of that. They were a little different to the Vikings and stuff, but little similar. So the basic, really, really old Finnish tradition is based on those mythological things and creatures and harpies and all of that.
Someone was telling me, I think at Download Festival, another band was telling me about Näcken. Is this
Näkki.
Näkki. Everything needs to be angrier. Näkki. Is this a fictional thing, or isn't it supposed to be a demon that crushes your chest when you're sleeping or something? Is this like folklore, or
actually,
or is Näcken the one where he plays a flute and lures people to a lake, or?
Yeah, actually, Näkki, how I remember it, if we are not talking about the same, it's the creature of lake who actually grabs the unaware personnel from shore.
Yeah.
So that's the way how even my parents and grandparents especially was making me frightened enough not to go to water alone if I'm like, too young
do you think
that. So.
Do you think there is some sort of truth in that, or do you think it was something that parents told you to get you to behave? Don't go down to the lake because
I don't know of that, but at least what is a fact is that so many Finnish people get drowned during summertime because they go to swim when are totally drunk, which is not wise, of course. So the lake claims their own anyways, so that happens. I don't know if there is a creature really actually dragging you down, but
well, I suppose the sad thing, you wouldn't want to find out, because if you find out, then it's too late.
Yes.
So do you believe in things like ghosts and things like that, and vampires and creatures of that nature?
It's a really complicated thing to really like to believe, but I kind of want to keep everything open. I think it's very exciting to let everything a chance to exist, and in a way, of course, every one of us in the world probably at some point you felt presences or kind of like have these weird feelings that you can't really explain, and such things also happen to me. So it's I think it's not important whether you want to make it that my imagination creates this all, or was there something, but it's fascinating if the world is not only as we kind of see or perceive it right now. So for all the beliefs, all the myths, I would love to really believe that even dragons exist because they are such cool.
I mean,
or maybe they did, long ago.
Do you have an encounter that you'd be willing to share that makes you think there might be something else out there?
Well, of course, it might come to the moments where some of your very close relative, for example, dies, and then you just have this feeling that they came to say goodbye during the night next to your bed, and at that moment it feels so real that who am I to say that it was not real? Even if it only was my own sorrow that kind of created it or something. But it's beautiful.
It is beautiful, and it's comforting for a lot of people, because I think if you believe that there's nothing else out there, that's sad. Then you are really saying goodbye, aren't you? But there is something quite beautiful about someone's spirit or someone's presence living on in different ways. So, well, thank you for sharing. That was quite personal, but I do find that whole world fascinating. And I think as well, my viewers as well are really invested into not only heavy metal music, but, those kind of horror films, like ghost stories and things like that. So I always ask those kind of questions. In terms of horror movies, we'll make it a little bit more light. What do you have a favorite horror movie? Are you inspired by that genre at all?
Yeah, I actually used to love horror lots. Now especially these days or last whatever 10, 20 years seem to be that everything got quite boring, and there are not really movies that makes you frightened or you have seen it all. But especially, of course, when you were younger, and I loved to read, for example, Stephen King, back in the days when we didn't have TV yet. So in the good old days when the books were everything, I was really, or Clive Barker, or everything like horror based. That was youth, and really cool. But naturally, I like many horror films. I actually secretly really love zombie movies, for example, because they make me laugh. Yeah. It's like one of the most cheerful thing to see the bad make C-class, D-class zombie movie where absolutely there is no point, but then you see that this is
it is entertainment,
comforting.
But I think as well, what was interesting that you said that you sort of grew up reading books. I mean, I'm of the generation that I loved indulging in a novel, and I think that triggers your imagination in a different way, because when you're watching a film, a lot of the work is done for you.
Yes.
But when you're reading a book, that can kind of come to light in your own imagination. So
definitely.
I kind of miss those times now. I think growing up now is so different for people, and I don't know how you find the whole world of social media and people online. Has that made your world easier, do you think, or harder? Because there's pros and cons to that world where your face is everywhere, or people can go into your inbox or, contact you, or you can see comments about your performances and stuff. I mean, how do you deal with that?
I actually try to avoid all of that as much as I ever can.
Yeah.
I'm not really active in anything like Instagram anymore. I used to do that quite a lot, but since many years already, I felt that it's, for me, somehow better to stay isolated from that world, not to dive too deeply into all the comments you mentioned or stuff like that, because for me it feels good that I can just concentrate to the work I'm doing the way I feel it right in that context, and then I feel that is the purest what you can give to the people, not to really too much be aware of what everybody wants to demand from you.
Well, yeah, of course.
And in a way, believing in that pure approach, I'm also kind of convinced that at least the audience that used to love Apocalyptica, they always loved that we actually did what we feel the best at that time. And that genuine approach is something that we share then with our audience, and I'm sure that you can't really fool them either. So
I think music fans are more intelligent than you think.
My favorite way of actually even describing is that if I'm making for example, a ballad, and at the time when I'm doing the melody, the first demo, if I cry, then I know that everybody else will do it. Like, that's the purest declaration of that. It reaches something in me so deeply that it cannot be unheard in a way.
Yeah, I mean, that's a powerful thing though, to be able to touch people like that with your music, and even to touch yourself with what you create. That does mean that you are giving yourself, you're giving your heart, and you're putting everything you have into it. So that is
we have to believe in something, like even if it would be only an illusion. That's the only sparkle you can give in to your work. And the touring already is like super demanding at times, very little sleep and all of that, a lot of traveling. So whenever you stop actually trying to be creative to work, I really dive into it crazily. It could be all of a sudden like 1 week without thinking of anything else, or not almost opening phone. I just have to dive into their own imagination.
Do you prefer being in the studio and creating things from scratch than actually going out there on the road? Because they're two different worlds. Very different, aren't they?
Yeah, they're totally different, but I wouldn't actually select only one of them, because they support each other. And when you create a new song, there is nothing that you want more than to get on stage to play it actually to the people, to make it real and to see their faces, how they react to that. And therefore, both of those worlds, they need each other.
Yeah, they do. This is the thing. And also, one of your most successful songs, Nothing Else Matters, which is a huge Metallica song. And obviously, you've transformed that song into something different, something new. You've elevated the original, you've taken it somewhere else. And I feel like, have you ever had any feedback from Metallica themselves about that track?
Oh yeah, and about basically all of the tracks, and one of the coolest feedback was just recently this year when James came to our show in Denver.
Oh, wow.
And it was really absurd to have Master himself there, you know, among the audience, singing his own songs and going crazy about the performance, and he loves it. All of the guys, they were so supportive towards us for the work we have done, and I agree that Nothing Else Matters is a great example where Apocalyptica, you see, I can't even say our own.
You need more aggression.
We were able to take such a masterpiece as it is a perfect song, one of the greatest songs in history. But our own, this more like the chamber music approach, it only clarifies that the theme, melody, the entire feeling of the original song is so strong that you can transform it to very different feeling, and it is one of the highlights always to play because people love it, we love it, and it's a very, very spiritual moment.
It must be amazing to have the support of the band as well, though. Could you imagine if you put it out there and they were like, hate it? That would be really awful. But
either they do that and then they just are very polite towards us.
No, you don't have to be polite if you're in that position. I don't think he's going to spend time and come and see you and support you.
But there are moments where you just can see that they actually are. For example, Trujillo came to the studio while we were making the album in LA. He played also bass to one of the tracks, or actually two of the tracks, and then he wanted to listen like everything we already recorded, and then he was like, this is sick, and hugging, like, did you play that solo? How the hell can you do it with the cello? Come on, bro. Like it's like that. So it is the highest amount of what we can ask of appreciation or something like that. So we have had great fun with Metallica guys, and that's also one of the main factors why also James appears in our newest album, because they wanted to. They wanted to participate, and it's pretty crazy, of course.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, actually. I mean, now let's look a little bit to the future. I mean, what's next for you guys? I mean, you must have a never-ending schedule. I mean, I know you're in the middle of the touring season at the moment, but what's next? What have you got coming out in the new year?
What we know at the moment is that we are still going to tour with this Place Metallica Volume 2 concept until late next year even, and because it's a high demand. Everybody loves to hear the songs and sing with us, and I always like to call us that we must be one of the most famous karaoke bands in the world, because people come to the show and they can participate because we don't offer the vocals in a normal sense. But for the future we already have ideas, already actually even started working with some ideas, but of course it's kind of early to say. But one thing that drives us and has been driving us for all these nearly 30 years now, next year is the 30th anniversary, so it always was that we kind of embrace the moment. Okay, we achieved this now. How can we top it?
Yeah.
What more can we do that at least for us it would give the feeling that we have the constant direction and that we would go forwards. We want to challenge ourselves not to repeat the things we already kind of like safely found. And that has been the main driving force in Apocalyptica, why we always back in the day, you know, introduced drums in a group the first time, or started to vocal cooperation, because that was also one of the new worlds where we could all of a sudden invite the coolest people, coolest vocalists in the world to join us. You learn so much from every single project. So I'm sure that these kind of things will continue. We will keep on challenging ourselves, and who knows, we will bring something cool for you still for yet another, I can't promise 30 years, but there's no plans of cooling down
promise
yet.
30 years and go for it, yes. And do you have a message for anyone who might be watching this, to your fans, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Well, the fans, absolutely, we always love you, and we hope to see you anywhere in the world on our shows. For the other people who actually didn't participate, the fun that Apocalyptica offers, better come to check us, because we are probably highly entertaining, and even if you don't like all of the songs, there might be some parts that talks to you the way it talks to us and our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure most people watching will be highly aware of everything you do, but if not, go and check them out. And thank you so much for talking to me today. I'm just slowly getting into the Wacken spirit, but yeah, we started off strong with Apocalyptica.
Yes.
So
Let's get wet.